Toxic Masculinity.
Biden rejects America First globalist cheer. Okay, she wrote me who is the head of USSR, but I don't. She said tyrant.
Tyrant, yes. Tyrant Biden. From now on, he's called Tyrant Biden.
Leader, just a leader.
Just leader, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the people's leader or something. Well, but Biden isn't really in charge, so it's a silly thing to call him like the leader, the tyrant, the dictator, because he doesn't even know what's going on. But anyway, apparently he gave a speech at G7, and he was playing down the whole America First idea that Trump instated. Let's see here. President Joe Biden on Friday rejected the America First policies that started no wars and brought about Middle East peace agreements, objectives that had not been achieved for decades under either party. So true. Who wrote this? This is from Breitbart. Wendell Husebo. I don't know who he is, but I like him. Absolutely right. Biden's G7 speech, I'll give you a shot of Merkel here with her hands in the air saying, "Thank God the United States is no longer a powerful force. It's weak and pathetic because Biden's in charge." Yeah, thank God. We don't have to deal with Trump anymore. He was so effective and good. All right. Biden's G7 speech drew praise from foreign nations. Let's see here. This is a quote from Germany's influential Der Spiegel magazine. They wrote, Biden gave exactly the speech that many Europeans wanted to hear. An America that pats you on the shoulder, that doesn't criticize or demand. Yeah. Everybody wanted to hear, finally, America's not going to actually do anything. They're just going to be like, we're cool, guys. Do whatever you want. Anyway, Biden assured the participants, including the French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, the United States is, quote, determined to re-engage with Europe, to consult with them, to earn back our position of trusted leadership, end quote. Merkel told reporters Friday that Biden's speech... Merkel told reporters Friday after Biden's speech that it's up to Europe to take an example from his first days in office and follow words with actions. Okay, that sounds like your typical political gobbledygook. I don't really even understand what that means. She cited the United States' return to the Paris Climate Agreement and its decision to stay in the World Health Organization despite the agency's bungling of the virus's outbreak, which has almost killed half a million Americans. Merkel also referenced the revival of the Iran nuclear agreement as, quote, important steps toward more multilateral cooperation, end quote, because that agreement really helped things and worked so well. European Council President Charles Michel additionally stressed that, or maybe it's Charles Michel, I can't tell because it's Michel, I guess. Sounds French. Stressed the need for the U.S. to fortify, quote, the rules-based international order, end quote, saying, quote, a strong partnership needs strong partners, end quote. I don't know, it just sounds like a lot of political nonsense, but the real story here, I think, is what Wendell Husebo, I don't know how you pronounce your name, man, sorry, is what he's pointing out, which is that Biden is no longer America First and everybody else is happy about it. Except Americans, obviously. I mean, Americans... Let's read some of the comments down here. I like these comments. So this guy, Jimmy, writes, Joe Biden is nothing more than an enemy of the state. If the president of the United States can't put America first, he's our sworn enemy. And that mummy took an oath. That mummy. Of course, nobody was there to see it. This guy writes, Dementia Joe was installed to put America last. And, that's just right. That's just right. It's so sad. Like, why would you be the president of the United States if you didn't want to put America first? I mean, Donald Trump clarified so many things for us, right? And we just I think we all became a little bit complacent about what presidents were willing to do to help Americans. And now that he's gone and we're kind of going back to the old way, I think a lot of people are waking up and saying, you know what, Trump had it right. I think a lot of moderates, I think even people on the left must be saying that at this point. He's bombing Syria. He's saying, well, we don't want to put America first. I think everything that he does is so obviously wrong, and he can't function. He can barely function. So I think everything he's doing is so obviously wrong. I think a lot of people on the left hopefully are going to start shifting right. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I don't think they're gonna shift right.
I mean, not all of them, obviously, but I think some will. You're wrong. I will fight you. All right. I think that's all of our stories for tonight, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's it.
All right. Shall we take questions and comments?
Yes.
Ladies and
sure.
gentlemen, we are actually going to be monetized starting tomorrow, I think.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, we've hit the 4,000. So, or maybe the next day. Tomorrow, the next day, we'll be monetized. So from now
you mean
on,
4,000 hours
it'll
of
be a
watch?
lot easier for us to take questions and comments.
You mean the super chat is gonna be
Because there'll
available?
be super chat, right? Because right now we don't have super chat, so it's hard for us to distinguish who has a good question or comment and who doesn't. We got to read through everything. But from now on, if you have a question or comment, you can pay like a dollar or two, I think, something like that.
What is the lowest? $1?
I don't know. It might be $2. I don't know how much it is. But then your name will light up, and we'll see that you have a question or comment, and we can figure out what you're trying to ask. You got anything?
You know what I hear today on at work?
What's that?
There was just eating lunch, whatever, and the guy was talking to another guy behind, like I could hear them, and he was like, "I don't understand why Gavin Newsom getting recalled. Look what he've done. Nobody, not a single state done this. He's approved a more money for
for
people.
like super poor people or whatever.
Yeah, like super poor people. Look what he done. Have you seen a single state who did that? Why is he getting recalled?" And I literally stand up, grab my lunch, and went to the other, like as far so I won't hear anything.
I thought you were gonna say you dumped it on him.
I wish. Well, I just did not want to hear anything else.
Naturally.
How can you be so stupid?
Naturally.
Do you remember when Trump?
You know what? Most of that money that he's handing out is going to illegal immigrants.
Yes. I could turn and say, you are not even getting this. You're working for the check here. You are not illegal, man.
I know. He's just encouraging people to come over.
Yeah, and don't you remember like when the Trump gave like 300, 400?
The Trump. It's now the Trump as well.
Trump.
We've got the Nancy Pelosi. We've got the Biden.
Oh my gosh.
And now we've got the Trump.
Sorry, guys.
Come on, guys. This is
Trump.
fantastic.
Trump was like, well, we will pay 300 and the state will have to add $100. And Newsom was like, we don't have this money.
Yeah, what was really weird.
We don't have this money.
In California, when the original stimulus money came out, Gavin Newsom said, if the federal government doesn't give enough money, we're going to add an additional amount on for Californians, so you guys get a lot more money than the rest of the country.
They promised like $600 extra.
Something like that, right? And then when they couldn't reach an agreement that was high enough for Gavin Newsom to be happy with, and they went out and sent the checks out, Gavin Newsom said, "Oh, actually, I was just joking. I'm not going to give you guys any extra money."
And why it took him so long? We are almost a year after the pandemic officially started.
All right, enough about Gavin. People don't care about Gavin Newsom. That's California stuff. People don't care about California stuff. People care about national stuff.
I was just waiting for comments. Just killing some time, you know.
Killing some time. Well, there's tons of comments here. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Mark in Alberta says that for super chats, $2 the minimum, and it's 50 characters. And be careful when you write, guys, because I've noticed that sometimes people post questions. They pay a little bit of money, but there's no question attached. And I think sometimes that's because it's a little tricky to know how that whole system works. I don't do it myself, so I can't tell you guys how to do it, but it is a little bit tricky sometimes, I think.
Do you think oh my gosh, I just lost. No, I didn't lost. Okay, for forbidden chocolate, do you think the equality bill will pass in the Senate?
That's a good question. It only needs 50%, right? It only needs a simple majority, right?
And yep, and
I mean,
I guess that's gonna pass.
Well, but here's the thing, because there are some leftists who I haven't checked into it to see how many leftists agree with it, but I think there's a good chance it won't pass. Because there are a few leftists out there. But the thing is, I think Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and these like horrible people, in these positions of power right now, I do think that they have a kind of they have a lot of people, I think, in DC are compromised, and so you basically have to go along with what they say, or else they're going to make your life very difficult. And a lot of people will say, well, okay, yeah, they leverage them with saying that we're going to put you on this committee, or we're not going to put you on this committee, or we're going to take this action against you, or we're going to make sure that you don't get, we're not going to help you during your next election or something like that, right? Using that kind of leverage. And that certainly happens in Washington, D.C., but I think it's worse than that. I think that they find dirt on people, and then they use that to leverage them to get what they want as well. So I think it's actually very difficult for people to make their own decisions a lot of times, especially if they're Democrats. I think a lot of Democrats are compromised, and I'm gonna keep following that that story for a long time until I'm satisfied one way or another that I'm either right or I'm wrong about that. But that's what I suspect actually happens in Washington, D.C.
Okay, Mark says there's breaking developments in the Lady Gaga dog story. Is there something going on right now?
Your friend Elena just said that $2 was too expensive because she's Jewish. Thanks, Elena. Anyway, sorry, say that again.
Mark says there is breaking developments in a Lady Gaga dog story. There's something going on
Oh,
right
are there
now?
breaking developments? Did it turn out that the black guys that shot her dog walker turned out to be
He probably,
supporters?
yes, he said, I am a Trump supporter.
Yeah. This
MAGA
is MAGA
country.
F you, Jussie Smollett. I am taking your dogs. Anyway, and that's a terrible. I don't know what that accent's supposed to be. It's definitely not Ethiopian, whatever that. I see this little spike of viewers as soon as I start doing my crappy
Yep,
Ethiopian
9
accent.
minutes ago, Lady Gaga 2 French dogs have been returned safely.
Hey, okay, so a couple of murderers just made $500,000. Let's
Nice.
hope they kill each other, shall we, ladies and gentlemen?
Well, we hope they're gonna pay tax on this money. Well,
Yeah, I doubt that's gonna happen. What else we got? Okay, Kid Thrival writes, please tell us how you got into this. I used to think that you were a GOP plant because you were too good and too good at this and went straight after the witches at The View. Well, I'll tell you what, it is funny, actually. A lot of people... Okay, so after I became a little bit successful at this, I met Carl Benjamin, right? Sargon of Akkad, and we had a pretty long conversation. We had a good evening together over drinks. We had a good laugh over how many leftists thought that we were like some kind of, corporate paid for people, that there were some like millionaires that had set us up with shows on YouTube, because my show has a pretty good camera lens, pretty good microphone. Like this was back, I don't know, 2 years ago when most people who were on YouTube were using like their cell phone, and they didn't have a good setup at all. And I had a fairly good setup compared to most people, and I hadn't really done YouTube before. But that was just because I was in, LA, and I had been making short films and stuff like that. So I had a little bit of equipment, nothing really that expensive. My camera was, I think, $300, and my microphone was like $100. It wasn't like I had a lot, but I just knew what to do to make things look a little bit better. And for some reason, people thought, especially after the AOC thing, that I was some kind of like, I don't know, some kind of host that was auditioned and then hired to do this, and that people were writing scripts for me and all this kind of stuff. And we had a good laugh over that, because we were both just like, because he gets the same thing, people think that he's some kind of like, I don't know, that he's paid for by some billionaire Republican, like the Koch brothers or something. And we're both just sitting there just like laughing our heads off about how we're just a couple of guys in our bedrooms with a camera and a microphone, and we're just saying what we think. That's it. I'm not a plant for anybody. I just say what I think. That's basically it. I got started in this because I was watching Ben Shapiro, and I was watching a lot of these guys, and they just didn't have enough content. These days you have so many choices. You have so much content. You could watch probably conservative content 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But at the time, there was only like a few guys, and I remember thinking somebody else needs to grab a camera, a microphone, and start talking about some of the stuff these guys aren't. And I realized, wait a minute, I have a camera, I have a microphone. I could do this. So I didn't want to, though, because I was doing acting in Hollywood, and I knew that if I became a known conservative, I'd never work again in Hollywood. But I made the decision to do it because it was something that I thought was important. And yeah, so I did it. And I sabotaged any chance I have of ever working in Hollywood again. But I think it's worth it, right? Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I like this.
Criticisms?
Questions
Concerns?
like comments like criticism. Your wife's son asks, "What happened to the Squad cartoon?"
Your wife's son. I know that guy. That guy's been around my channel since like the beginning, like the very beginning. Sorry, what did he say? What happened to the Squad cartoon? Okay, the Squad cartoon has been reinvented like 3 different times. I've hired on tons of different kinds of people, different animators, different voice people, different kinds of things that I needed. And it's really hard to make a cartoon. It's much harder to make a cartoon fast. And so like, okay, so I had a brilliant idea for a cartoon early on. And I had made Ilhan Omar bald. And the reason I made Ilhan Omar bald is because she wears that turban thing, right? And I thought it would be funny to do a scene, and actually it's up on my channel if you look for it. I wanted to do a scene where like Darth Vader's helmet goes on, right? I wanted to do that with Ilhan Omar's hijab. And I wanted it to make it so that she was bald underneath because I thought it would be just funny, right? And I wanted the girls to go and like walk in on her when this is happening and go, ah! And then slam the door and walk out and go, she's bald. Right? I thought it was a funny bit. So I made that bit. I put it out as like sort of, it turned out Ayanna Pressley actually is bald. And I'm pretty sure that because I know some of the people who kind of, who are Justice Democrats. One of them in particular, the main guy. And I know those people know who I am. I know some of those people in those circles keep track of what I'm doing on Mr. Reagan. So I'm pretty sure they saw this video because it was right after I put that out that Ayanna Pressley comes out on a press conference without a wig and says, I have alopecia or whatever. I guess it's alopecia that causes that. And she's like, and I'm a bald woman and I'm proud and all this kind of crap. And I actually felt terrible because I wasn't really intending to mock women who were bald. But, I mean, it is a weird thing. If a woman's bald, it is an odd thing. It is something that people freak out about. It was just a funny, stupid thing. Okay? I wasn't trying to insult anybody. But I did feel bad. I didn't know one of them was bald. And I was making this joke about them being bald. So that kind of, and also I was very busy at the time. So that kind of pushed the show a little bit because I had to kind of think of, I mean, not that was like an important element in the show. But we had this whole thing developed about the show. And there were certain things we couldn't do for whatever reason. We got into to the election, and then I was concerned that, if Trump lost, a lot of the episodes that I had planned wouldn't work. In fact, most of the stuff I had planned for the show was around Trump being president. Mm-hmm. So when that happened, we had to kind of shift gears. I was going to do an episode about Joe Biden when he was a candidate, where he was... where it was a Weekend at Bernie's joke, right? Where he was walking around and he was being sort of like moved around by people. And the Weekend at Bernie's joke was actually thought up by a lot of different people at the same time. So I thought of that completely independently of anybody else. And then my buddy sent me like a t-shirt that somebody had designed with a Weekend at Bernie's thing with Biden. And then somebody actually made a short film about Joe Biden being... You don't know what Weekend at Bernie's is about a guy. They go to their uncle's place and the uncle's dead.
You told me about this.
Oh, I have. Okay, so yeah, so they're carrying this dead body around, and I really wanted to make this episode, and I had planned it out, and we'd sort of worked on it, where Joe Biden is at a press conference, he's giving a speech, and the press, the media, figure out that he's dead, and they're like, whoa, hey, how long has he been dead for? And whoever's holding him up is like AOC or somebody is like, oh, he's been dead for weeks. He's been dead for a long time. We've just been propping him up. And so they have to make this decision about whether or not to keep up the charade or to move on to running Kamala Harris. And so they kind of set Joe Biden to the side, the dead body to the side, and they all start debating. And they get done with the debate, or they're in the middle of the debating, and Joe Biden sits up, and he's like... Whoa, what the hell's going on? And everybody's like, oh my God, he's alive. And they go, he must have just been sleeping this whole time. And somebody's like, He really is Sleepy Joe. Right? And that was the end of the cartoon. It was a stupid joke, right? But
That's funny.
But it is funny. But I wanted to do that. And then Joe Biden won the damn election. So I still think I'll probably make him like a corpse the whole time. I don't know. That joke's been played out. A lot of people have done that already. So I'm kind of irritated. I feel like people are going to think that I copied it. But, it was my original idea. But different people had the same idea. So I don't know. I have a completely different direction now that I've decided to go. And I think you guys are going to like it. But again, I'm like swamped with work. So it's hard to get going. But obviously I'm hiring other people to come on and help. So hopefully we'll get this stupid cartoon out eventually. But I do have a completely new plan for doing the cartoon to make it easier to animate. And all I need is the voiceover stuff. And we should get it. It should work. Hopefully it's still in the works. It really is. Anything else?
I like this comment. Biden didn't win.
Biden didn't win?
Biden didn't win.
Well, okay. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. Mark in Alberta says, you could make so many cartoons about the Biden. The Biden is the new Mr. Bean. You know what's funny about that is I wasn't actually expecting to make the show about Biden at all, really. Even though he's won. Just because he's such a nothing. He's not important. But I'm going to talk to my buddy about that. We'll figure out how we're going to integrate Biden into the show. He'll definitely be a major character, but he might just be walking around in the background, like wandering around looking at butterflies or something like that the whole time. Look at the pretty butterfly.
Walking his dogs.
Walking his dogs.
By the way,
yeah.
he needs to be careful with his 2 dogs.
Salty JD Coke says, 2 tickets to Turth, please. Yeah, I don't know if you guys will watch this. On Mr. Reagan, there's an episode that I did called The Epic of Turth. And so anytime I want to talk about the election, integrity.
Being fairly
executed, right?
yes.
I'm going to do those episodes as The Epic of Turth. I don't know how often I'm going to do episodes on that anymore, but the problem is that you can't talk about the election integrity and not get your videos canceled.
just for YouTube. Biden won. Everything was fair. Nobody cheated.
Yes, no. Well, I don't think for myself. No, there's actually an episode I just got taken down from YouTube, and it was called What Happened to John Durham. And this episode is available on Rumble, but you can't see it on YouTube anymore. YouTube took it down, and they said that it violated their terms of service because it was like a spam or like a scam or something like that. Like I was trying to steal money from people. I don't really even understand it. They'll just put any excuse to take your video off. But in that video, I proposed the possibility that, there is this blackmail ring going on at Washington, D.C. And I never say that this is factual or that I have any evidence. I say in the video, this is my speculation. This is what I think's going on based on what I see in D.C. And, YouTube took it down because we're not allowed to speculate, guys. We're not allowed to speculate about anything in D.C. anymore. You can't question your government now. We no longer live in the United States of America. We live in the Soviet Republic of the United States of America. All right. Let's see here. What else do we got? Nothing? You know what I really like? Dead air. I love it when nobody's speaking. That's the most entertaining.
I mean, I'm sure you can kill some dead air.
Okay, this guy says, Stubborn1 says, tell Gary Franchi to bring back the G-Cast. You were great on the election stream, Mr. Reagan. Thanks a lot. Yeah, Gary Franchi is a buddy of mine. He has Next News Network. It's a great channel. He's got like 100 million subscribers or something like that. He kills it, man. He does great. Let's see here.
Chris, have you been to Russia? Steve?
I have not been to Russia, but I will be. Steve, thank you for that. I will be going to Russia probably at the end of the year, but we'll see. We'll see. It depends on how her immigration stuff works out because she currently cannot.
Chris, as a Russian citizen, I can come back to Russia anytime. You, American citizen.
But you can't come home again.
You mean in America?
Can't come back to the United States.
The point is not this. The point is that you,
Yeah.
American citizen,
Yeah.
need to get a visa.
That's true. I
That
will
might
get a
be
visa. I'll get a
problematic
visa.
right now.
I'll get a visa. I'll get a visa. What is the name of the video on Rumble? The name of the video is What Happened to John Durham. What happened to John Durham? And the reason that this whole speculation started was actually because I thought John Durham, yeah, there's cigarette smoke wafting into our apartment. John Durham was supposed to come out with an interim report, something. You know, normally we get some kind of a hint of what's going on. There's arrests. Nobody's been arrested. We've got no interim report. Is this investigation going to come up with anything? My guess is no. And the reason that's my guess is because I suspect that John Durham has been gotten to by somebody in D.C. And to me, that got me questioning, like, how corrupt are they in D.C.? And I started thinking, well, maybe there's a whole web of corruption, and maybe John Durham is, like, basically, like, smack dab in the middle of this web of corruption, and it's so intense that he is unable to do his job. So that's how I came up with that. Anything else, Donnie?
Have you heard of Freedom Tunes?
No, I don't think so. I don't really know what she's saying, but Dale's dog wrote, "We all love Valeria, but you need another co-host." I should have a third. Originally, we were supposed to have a third co-host, like a producer, or Valeria would be the producer. I have another co-host, but it didn't work out like that. It's very difficult to do a daily show.
Yeah, because sometimes I can't even.
Yeah, you can't even make it. Yeah, it's very difficult to do a daily show unless you have somebody who's unemployed helping you. So there are a couple of people that I could have brought in, but we would have had to move. So it was a little bit too difficult. So we just did this. Let's see here. Live One wants my opinion on the New World Order. Well, I don't really know exactly what you mean by that. There's obviously this new thing with what's that new thing with the environment stuff called? The environmental stuff. They're saying, like, the whole, like, Build Back Better crap. What's that called?
I don't know.
Are you dying because of the cigarettes? Yeah, I do think that there is some kind of. It's hard to say who controls what and who's just going along with it. That's the tricky thing. When you're sitting there trying to figure out who's actually pulling the strings and who's being pulled, right? Like, for instance, Prince Charles in the UK. He's been brought in to talk about a lot of this environmental crap from time to time. I don't think that he is controlling anything. You know, some people think, oh, Prince Charles controls some stuff because he's very powerful and he's very rich. I don't think so. I think he just goes along with stuff when other people convince him to. I think he's a pawn. But it's hard to figure out who are the pawns and who are actually pulling the strings. So you got to figure all that stuff out. And that's what I'm trying to do with a future video that I'm trying to build right now. I'm trying to research called Who Controls Joe Biden. I'm trying to figure out exactly, you know, who would be in control if there was going to be an actual new world order. Let's see here. The Great Reset. Thank you, Live One. The Great Reset. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The Great Reset is, I mean, that was a mistake for them to post that Great Reset crap, because that really exposed a lot of what these elites were planning. And it gives you kind of a sense of, like, I do feel like a lot of those people involved in that kind of stuff are trying to control things. I do think that they have some control over some of the stuff that's going on in the world, a lot more than they should. Let's see here. Oh, people are now offering to co-host. Yeah, come on over. You guys can all come over. Let's see here. Oh, they got somebody named Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann's the name of my cousin. Let's see here. Carrie Ann says, I've watched every episode so far. Thank you, Carrie Ann. That's awesome.
Is it your cousin?
I don't think it's my cousin, no. My cousin's a pretty solid leftist.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got a cousin that's in the intelligence world. He's a leftist as well. But the thing is, he's not like he's not like an important person in the intelligence community to where he controls anything. I think what's happened in his case is that he's sort of been convinced. I think that there is a kind of culture within the intelligence community that does convince a lot of people that the leftists have things under control and people on the right are, like, crazy and horrible and they don't know what they're doing. And so he's been convinced of that, which I think is terrible because he didn't grow up that way, really. He grew up sort of like apolitical, and now he's pretty much a solid leftist. He hates Trump. He thinks he's an idiot and all this stuff. And It's just it's weird, man, because he's in intelligence. He knows a lot of the stuff that other people don't, and yet he's still delusional about a lot of this stuff. Wolvenar writes, the World Economic Forum is pushing socialism now worldwide. Well, that's exactly what it is, right? But the thing is, I don't think that I'm not sure if everybody that's involved with that realizes that it's socialism. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I haven't gotten into it enough to really, because here's what I care about when I do research, guys. I care about motivation and I care about intention, because every single individual person has, and this is why I think there's a blackmail ring in DC, right? Because people have motivations and intentions. People want to get rich, people want to get famous, people want to have power, a lot of times in politics anyway. And there's only so much that you will do, only so much crime you will commit, only so much unethical behavior you'll be willing to engage in for personal gain. But to avoid personal destruction, a lot of people will do almost anything. So I am convinced that a lot of the people doing the most drastic things in Washington, D.C. are people who are compromised. So when we see somebody do something and we think, well, that's pretty outrageous, my initial instinct now is that person is compromised. They're being controlled by somebody. Because it's much easier. It's not good. My heater went on. It's much easier to tell somebody, if you don't do this thing for me, I'm going to make your life difficult, right? I'm going to ruin you. Than to actually do the thing yourself. And the motivation that you have to do that needs to be a lot lower just to threaten somebody than it needs to, be to actually go out and commit the crime yourself and risk imprisonment yourself or whatever it is. So I do think that it's very easy in a system in which people are being leveraged for really, really horrible things to happen. It's much harder to do it if you just have individuals acting in their own interest for really terrible things to happen. Although it did happen in Nazi Germany, so who knows?
Okay, G Health 5150. Is it true that only 9% of 1.9 trillion bill is going toward COVID? Only 9% of the whole COVID bill goes.
I haven't seen that percentage, but I do know that that most of the money is going to like corporations and billionaires and nonprofits and crap like this, like stuff that the Democrats like. And these are all payoffs, right? These are all payoffs to people that the Democrats like and want to help out, for helping them get elected and stuff like this. It's all paying off the Democrats are so damn corrupt, you guys. Like, I wish, I almost tweeted this, but I thought, well, no Democrats actually follow my channel. But my Twitter, what?
9%. This 9% reminds me, like, you remember the whole statistic of COVID, like how many people died, but actually only like 6% died actually from COVID.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
like, of
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
And
So it makes sense.
that's fair, yeah.
Yes.
The whole bill only like
If only actually 6% of the people they say died of COVID, then only
9%
9%
of the bill
yeah,
goes to
they're being
COVID.
generous even.
That's actually, yeah. True. See? 3%.
Well, okay, so, like, I want to tell Democrats who voted for Joe Biden, who voted for Nancy Pelosi, who are voting for these people, who want them to control the money, who want them to control the government, like, you guys do know that all of this COVID money that you voted for is going to corporations, are going to like organizations that you don't necessarily want to have that money. Most people want people to have the money. Now, different people want different groups to have it. Like, some people want the gays to have it. Some people want the blacks to have it. Some people want, this poor group or that struggling group or something like that, Hispanics, whatever. But at the end of the day, most people, I would say, would probably agree that the COVID relief money should go to people who are struggling because of COVID, right? People who have financial struggles because of COVID should get the COVID relief money. But that's not who's getting the money. And Democrats who voted in Biden, they have to, they're never going to have to face that because they're never going to watch news that actually forces them to confront that reality. But that's the truth. They voted in people who, stole tax money and gave it to their friends. That's what's happened.
Mark said 9%, at least it's more than the death rate from COVID. I actually said that. I swear I did not see this comment. When I hope he's not going to think
Come
that
on,
I
she's
stole
a hack,
his...
you know it. She just copies you guys' clever comments.
I didn't steal it, just have...
It's also kickbacks, money laundering, ABC123. Yeah, kickbacks. Yep. That's a lot of what my new video is going to be. I'm posting a video in the next couple of days. Tomorrow morning. Actually, it's coming out tomorrow morning. It's all about kickbacks and this kind of corruption. And in fact, I should get to editing that video. And so I'm going to say good night. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. And I can't flip back to Valeria because her camera died, but we're going to get it working for tomorrow, I promise.
Tomorrow? Are you sure? Good morning.
Shut up, woman.
Friday
okay.
morning.
Monday.
I was wondering if it's
She's so
gonna
mean to
happen.
me.
I was wondering if she's gonna forget again
And you just
that it's
watched
Saturday. Yes.
cruelly. That's why I love her, because she's so mean to me.
Yes.
All right, guys. We'll see you Monday. And yeah, until then.
Good night.
Good night. Yeah, she's what is it? I'm toxic. She's masculine. Together we are toxic masculinity. All right. Good night.
Good
See you
night.
guys. Toxic Masculinity. Weekdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.